Well, all right, here we are. Now, some of you guys might be thinking, yes, we're done with that series, so we can hopefully move on to some other clips from different people. Sorry, not today. Not today. Today we have another clip from Pastor Mitchell, and next week we have another one from that same church, but it's a different person speaking. So please bear with me a few more weeks, but it's not on this Challenging Our Faith series. It's a separate topic, as you can see from the title. So just bear with me, and let's dive into this. Okay, so I don't want to take up too much time before I show you this clip because this clip is rather long. It's like almost 10 minutes long, like 9 minutes and 53 seconds. But the reason why it's so long is because Pastor Mitchell really does a great job of connecting the dots of certain scriptures that me personally I have not seen before. So when I heard him talk about this, I was like, whoa, oh, that's good. That's really good. So I hope that perhaps maybe you guys might have the same reaction if you haven't seen it this way before. So with that said, let's check this out.
And when the men of that place recognized him, they sent around to all of that region and brought to him all who were sick and implored him that they might only touch the fringe of his garment. And as many as touched him were made well. So they land in a place they did not initially plan to go. And when they get there, we see there is a healing revival. Now, you see, I'm done with the text. I just want to draw your attention to one word, the word recognized. Like, family, now let's think with your brain, because we need to serve God with our mind, our soul, our heart, our strength, right? This is how we study the scriptures. Matthew's writing this in the 1st century AD. Think with me, family. There's no social media. There's no news network. There's no image of Christ's face on any poster. So how in the world did they recognize him? How would they have known when he came ashore? There he is. That's Jesus. And the men start running to every town. Mark tells us they ran into every town, every neighborhood, said, Jesus is here, Jesus is here, get to him. And they all run to him, they grab the hem of his garment, they all are made well. How did they recognize him? Well, there is no picture of his face in circulation, but in those days they did have oral stories in circulation. So the only way they could have recognized him is they would have to heard somebody's testimony. And we know from history that these men lived in an area of a woman who's not named, who when Christ had transformed her life, she could not keep quiet about who she met and what he did. And after she encountered Christ, she ran in every direction telling people her testimony. You forgot her. Oh, you remember? We met her in Matthew chapter 9. She was a woman who probably had family and friends and a husband. She comes onto her menstrual cycle like every single month. It goes beyond 3 days. Maybe she's 5 days, 7 days. Everything is all good, no problem. Now it's 15 days. And now it's 20 days on her cycle. Now she's concerned. It's been a month on her cycle. You remember her. And now she's scratching her head. Why hasn't my cycle ended? Now it's 45 days. Now it's 60 days. And now she lives in a time where if blood is flowing from anybody, you are considered unclean. So that means nobody can't touch you while you're bleeding, and you can't go into the house of God while you're bleeding. So we know that she could not go into the temple while she was bleeding. So she's disconnected from the community of the brothers and sisters. She could not have sex with her husband if she was married. So you know he's starting to feel some type of way. Boo, it's been 2 months and I ain't tapped that yet. Like he's feeling some stress on the inside. And now it's 6 months. And now it's 8 months. Now she's concerned. Now she sees a doctor who cannot help her. Now it's a year and she sees another doctor who cannot help her. Now it's 2 years and she sees another doctor who cannot help her. She's burning through cash. She's burning through her savings account. And now it's 4 years. And now 7 years. Now she's running low on cash. By this time, if she's married, her relationship with her husband is probably ruined. If she had children, they can't come near her. She could not go into the temple. So for almost 7 years, she's separated from community, distant from family, distant from husband, distant from children. Now it's 10 years. Now it's 12 years. And if there was any family, they have not seen her during this time because they cannot. She is running out of hope. She has ran out of money. It's all Matthew chapter 9. She is hurting, wounded, alone, and bruised. She hears about Jesus walking through her town. And when she hears about the Lord coming to her town, the scripture says she kept saying to herself, if I only grab the hem of his garment, I will be made whole. Well, she's Jewish. Why would she think to herself, if I only grab the hem of his garment, I will be made whole? She's Jewish. Y'all remember this? Well, if she's Jewish, what did she have at her disposal? The Old Testament. So she would have read in Malachi chapter 4, verse 2. She would have read in Malachi chapter 4, verse 2, she would have read, but for you who fear my name, talking about God's people, the Son of Righteousness shall arise with healing in his wings. And you shall go out leaping like calves from the stall. Now pay attention to the verse. He says, for you who fear my name, God, the Son of Righteousness will arise with healing in his wings. S-U-N. Righteousness is a virtue that cannot be attached to something that is inanimate. So the Son cannot have righteousness. Righteousness belongs to a person. So we know that this S-U-N is a metaphor for the S-O-N, the Son of God. And that what the scripture says is when Christ emerges, there would be healing in his wings. Wings is a Hebrew word for the extremity of one's borders or tassels. So Jewish people knew whenever the Messiah came, whatever he was wearing, if anybody grabbed the border of his clothing, they would be made healed, because the scripture says when the Son of Righteousness comes, there would be healing in his wings, Hebrew word, border of his tassels. So it was that woman who had the issue of blood, who was a Jew, who kept saying to herself, if I only grab the hem of his garment, based on Malachi, I know I will be made well. You remember this, that because of what she read, she believed. That because of what she read, she believed. Because of what she read, she believed. Because of what she knew in the word, she believed. She had faith because of what she read. And history tells she grabbed the bottom of his clothing. She was healed from that menstrual cycle of 12 years. And immediately she ran out and she told her testimony. Watch. These men lived in the area where she lived. Is there any evidence that her testimony had an impact on these men? Look at the text. Matthew 14, go back to the verse. right? Any evidence. I'm closing. And when the men of that place recognized him, how would they recognize him? She was telling everybody, this is what he looks like. This is how he sounded. This is what he did. He turned to me when I was on the floor and he said, daughter, your faith has made you well. This is what he looked like. She was telling stories about what he looked like and what he sounded like and how he dealt with her. How do we know that? She lived in this area of Gennesaret. And so when the men recognized him, they sent around to all that region and implored him that they might just only touch the fringe of his garment. Notice they didn't ask the Lord, lay hands on me. They didn't say, Lord, lay hands on us. They heard the testimony of a woman who grabbed clothes and got healed, so their faith now is in the same method for healing. So because of her testimony, they had faith for themselves that not only could she be healed, I'm done, Frank, but we can be healed the same way. So because of her testimony, she lived in this area. Because of her bragging about what he looked like and what he said and what he did and what happened when she grabbed his clothes, those men was hearing that testimony. So by the time he came on shore, they recognized him. There he is. There is the man that woman has been talking about for all this time. We ain't asking him to lay hands. We going after him the same way she did. And people started coming from every direction.
So remember in last week's video, I said that my hope was that this week's video would be fire. And I hope that clip from Pastor Mitchell kind of did that. He connected the dots and kind of showed you the touching the hem of the garment. You might read through that and really not think anything of it. I didn't. I would just read that scripture. And then when he really connected the dots, that the woman that had the discharge of blood, she touched the hem of his garment. So of course these people, based off of her testimony, that's what they believed for too. So of course they just wanted to touch the hem of his garment. Because they said, she got healed that way, we can get healed that way too. Her testimony, what she said healed her, how she got healed. So don't shortchange the power of your testimony. Don't discount the power of your testimony. And don't shy away from wanting to share it because of your self-conscious thoughts. Whether it's visually, you're like, look at that, I'm overweight. I'm not visually appealing, so people aren't going to resonate. Or I don't speak eloquently, so people aren't going to like what I have to say. Or don't discount yourself. Let the power of God work. Talk about what he's done in your life. Don't be afraid to share it. Don't be afraid to put a face to the name. Not just say Alex's testimony, but actually let's see who Alex is. Because I think it's more powerful that way. So I hope this really motivated some people and lit a fire within us to go out and share our testimony. Because regions, cities, counties can be saved by just your testimony. So don't be afraid. So send me an email if you would like to share your testimony, and follow me on my socials. And until next week, you guys stay safe and be blessed.